All right, here we go. We are good. Just if anybody can help me out on YouTube, just make sure we are going. All right.
Says we're live.
Smooth start, as always. All right, boys and girls, let's do this.
Parte del Piero, rete del Piero! Pallone con i contagini per Nedved, Nedved, gol! Pirlo, la conclusione in rete! Andrea Pirlo, un gol pazzesco! Del Piero, gol! Alex, Del Palla di Pogacar, Pogba, rete! Un gol incredibile! Pogba fa esplodere lo Juventus Stadium!
Quite possibly for the last time ever.
Buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno.
Are we keeping this after
No.
the season?
No.
We're not. We're getting rid of.
No.
I think we got to retire it.
Oh man, iconic. But I guess, hey, Mr. Buongiorno is gone, so is his soundbite, I guess. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, special edition of Turin Giants podcast. We made it, number 300. My name is Farhad. I'm the host that loves you most. I'm so emotional today. There's going to be a lot of podcasting today, and for a good reason, because we have reached a beautiful number 300, and I couldn't be in a better company. Kevin, Zach, Freddie, and Mr. Alessandro Belpiero. It's an honor to join you, gentlemen. How is everybody?
It's crazy to think that you're on your 300th episode, and to break down the season. I think it's a wonderful occasion, and I'm excited to be here.
We did kind of we had to cheat. We had to put a number 299.5, but whatever. We made it work. Yes, perfectly scheduled number 300. We will be recapping this season with the boys. We're also live on YouTube, and you can listen to us and watch us on Spotify and Apple. It's a celebratory mood around here, so we're really happy going into summer, finishing the season, and recapping this for you guys. Before we go any further, I'd like to say that there will be a second part to this episode, a little more of a retrospective, and we'll be talking with the previous hosts, the first ever hosts of Turin Giants podcast. So I'm happy to welcome back Matt, Saeed, and Christian. So it'll be a fun episode. Maybe Giovanni will join as well. But what's the plan for today, Kevin? I'm gonna put you on the spot while I get ready, and you tell the listeners what we got going on today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and first and foremost, congratulations, Farhad. I mean, that's longest? Is it longest Juve podcast ever? Or longest English?
Who knows? I don't know if there's any Italian, but I don't think there's any Italian podcast in Italian that went further than us. But let's just say the world's longest running Juventus podcast. How about that?
That's amazing. And it's so cool to think that I remember I was running on the beach in Sicily on vacation. It's about a year and a half, 2 years ago, listening to an episode when you're calling out that you were looking for some help with YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? I'm living in Turin now. There's got to be something I can do to help with this, and reached out to you, and you were so kind of grateful and thankful to welcome me to be a part of what you're doing here. And it's been so much fun. So just like personally, thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute towards something I'm passionate about. I mean, Juventus is a meaningful part of my life. Right now, it's been more frustrating and stressful than providing entertainment and joy. But thank you for giving me this outlet, and it's just been a real pleasure these last 2 years. So thank you.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? You guys, including you guys are just You know, we get together. It's driven by passion. It's all free. We're not making any money, but I thank you all. Why don't I introduce everyone? You know, the man lighting the cigarette there, Freddie. I just went through our Reddit DMs yesterday, and yeah, it was an easy transition. You said you have inside sources, and Mr. Freddie Scoops delivered. Zach also joined us from Reddit. Answered the bat signal when we needed hosts, because there's some shitty people in the world. But you know what? Shitty people brought me to some awesome people. So I thank you. And of course, Kevin was he was the resident of Turin, and I mean, you having season tickets to the games and us kind of hooking up, it was just like a match made in heaven. So thank you, boys. I truly appreciate you, and stuff that knowledge that you brought. I thank you all. Kevin,
yeah.
So back to you. What do we got going on today, buddy?
This is fun, and thank you. And we've got hopefully some people joining us on YouTube Live, and then just everyone joining us to wrap up this season, which we can breathe a kind of sigh of relief here that we qualified for the Champions League. It wasn't the greatest of seasons, but it wasn't the disaster that it could have been. And now with a bit of calmness, we can reflect on it. And that's what we're here to do today with Zach and Frederic and myself, and obviously Farhad kind of navigating and guiding us through it. But we're excited, I think, to go through some typical things that you would expect us to reflect on: MVP, best signing, most improved, best game, best goal, perhaps worst game, most frustrating player. We can go through that. We can do an assessment of our squad. And then there's definitely some kind of situations that require some kind of deeper conversation, right? And we had an Instagram request from one of the friends of the pod, Colissimo, Dan, who does a lot of the shirt designs, of which I'm wearing right now.
Yes, sir. TurinGiants.com. Thank you.
And, he was asking us, for example, where did things start to go wrong for Dusan? So let's talk about that a bit. We did talk about Thiago Motta's demise and the beginning of the end for him, but we can circle back to that a little bit and discuss that. Talk more about Tudor's tenure and what that meant and kind of where we go from here. I think we'll probably keep most of the discussion focused on kind of what we just went through in the season without getting too far into the future. But I know Frederic definitely has some scoops. We've got some Freddie scoops to go through about what's going on in the start of what is looking like it'll be a pretty long mercato in summer for us that we'll want to touch on.
It's been 2 days, but it's already been too long. I feel like
it's exhausting. Like the Inzaghi rumors coming out of nowhere. What? Coming today? Yeah.
I am exhausted. We're 2 days in, and I literally
this episode will be Freddie heavy, I feel like. But Zach, you wanted to we're always working on new stuff, and we have actually a very fun announcement. There's a side quest podcast. I don't know what you call them. What's the
Spin-off.
The spin-off? There you go. We got a spin-off podcast. Zach, hold on. By the way, you have 2 drops.
Shines up for Detroit. I love this city.
I feel special. Thank you, Farhad. I think you only did it because I despise the drops. But yeah,
Visit Detroit,
baby.
I think that we all get excited and or frustrated during transfer windows, especially the summer, because the rumors fly in so hot and heavy from all sources, some of them seemingly reputable, and I never know what to believe or what to trust. I think when we were talking about or thinking about ideas, we have a really amazing resource in Frederic, who has friends inside the organization of Juventus who are willing to share under the terms of anonymity certain facts about transfers, both in players and in the front office. And so to provide some clarity and transparency for all of y'all, we're going to do it. I don't know if it's a spinoff or just what I'm mentally thinking of is Turn Giant presents what we're going to call an episode series called The Scoop, where we're going to talk to Frederic about how much we can actually believe certain rumors. What are the ones to focus on? What are the ones that are more maybe bullshit or made up or distant? And so be on the lookout. We're going to at least release once a week, at least for the next month or so, to see how it goes. But it's with the goal to give sort of a central place where we all can get some information about the reliability of these rumors that are already coming hot and heavy and thick and fast.
That's what she said. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Yes. I think you said every Friday, but we'll talk more about the date. But I'm super excited that you guys took initiative, and it'll be Zach and Freddie doing their own thing, and I'm super happy that they're going to bring you guys more content. Yeah, where do you guys want to start? I was thinking of giving everyone a couple of minutes just to provide your opinion and kind of go through the season, what you thought, just so we can get those things out and then kind of go into the detail about the season itself. Who wants to go first about their thoughts?
I want to go first.
Zach, let's go.
I think what we're looking at and reflecting on this season is really a failed restart. We tried to do it with Sarri. We tried to do it with Pirlo. Allegri kind of held the fort and status quo for a few years, and Malta was really supposed to bring in the dawn of a new age of Juventus, maybe a more modern football, to bring us back to the world stage and at the top of Serie A, and that clearly did not happen. Injuries and an enormous amount of draws caused us to lag until the locker room seemingly gave up on them after those 4-0 and 3-0 defeats. Bringing Turin, who it appears may not be with us much longer, and potentially firing Giuntoli, which is, the writing seems to be on the wall on that, just means that we're back where we started 5 years ago, where we are still lacking a coach, lacking a vision, lacking a plan to take this team back to where it belongs.
I think it's hard to state that in better words, and I just think you're right. I mean, we talked about this being year zero, but I mean, so this is going to be like the return of year zero, or maybe this past year was year -1. Like, I don't know, but we're not any further ahead than where we were with Allegri going out and burst of flames and kicking and screaming on his way out. We finished a place further back. We didn't win a trophy, and we had less points. I think it was one less point than.
Oh, here, yeah. Let me ask you guys: did we do better this year or last?
Last year.
I mean, from a standing standpoint, and obviously the trophy means that last year was better. But from a standing standpoint in Serie A, did we do better?
This year, no.
No, we went back one position, but we scored 4 more goals and conceded 8 fewer. In what is arguably a more competitive Serie A this year. So did we do worse or did we do better? I mean, I think status quo was kind of maintained, no?
Yeah, I think you're splitting hairs at that point when you're looking at goal differential. But I think what the point I was going to make, because I agree, like that is the narrative, that this project that was the expectation that was set around this did not deliver. And now that the man who constructed the squad and the guy who is supposed to put a team on the pitch to compete and evolve, that's gone. Or at least we believe the guy who put the
he's gone.
Yeah, gone. Okay. So like the project didn't work and we're going to have to restart somehow. But what was equally frustrating was how the year progressed, in that there was this stubbornness that went along with it, with an inability to adapt, either an inability to adapt to game situations an inability to adapt with the players that were available, the inability to adapt with the players that were in form, and how to modify our path forward to win football matches. And that, and seeing the same mistakes repeated over and over and over again throughout the progression of the season was so incredibly frustrating, whether you were in the stadium or whether you were sitting on your couch. And that's what made for a very hard season.
Well, I think because my eyes literally bled this season, I think, or I believe that we chose the path of least resistance at the beginning of this season. I think Alcon, him being the top guy who decides everything, chose to set Giuntoli there and gave Giuntoli carte blanche and said, you can be sporting director, you can be general manager, and you decide everything. Pick the coach, pick the players, and that went horribly wrong. And I don't want to get too ahead of the episode from tomorrow because we have some juicy stuff tomorrow, so stay tuned. But Alcon now,
he froze right at the juicy bit.
Well, I haven't really played this today, so let's take an opportunity.
I thought that was me.
Would you guys agree? Drop of the year.
And now Freddie Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business. See?
It is a lot of fun.
I know if Zach loved it, then it's got to be.
Yeah, that one I like. That one
Do I have your permission to give you the intro for your Turin Giants the scoop, please?
Oh wait, you mean give permission? You tell me. It's your podcast.
Oh, I'll be so happy to do it's everyone's podcast, but I do love the sound drops and the stuff surrounding it. So it would be my pleasure to give you guys an intro. At least let me participate that way. All right, Freddie's back.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened.
It's all good.
I don't know what
the best part.
What was the best part? Because
when you had connectivity issues, Farhad played your drop, and we all love a good. We all love best in the business, see?
Let's save that for next episode then.
So you're basically speaking about management and how it's the teams now. Teams nowadays thrive because of how management handles them. And if you can't handle that, your team will not perform.
That's one part of the issue. And the other issue is that we don't have the people in place with the correct football knowledge in all sides of Juventus to make decisions that will, in longevity, have a return on investment.
Yeah. Do you want to say anything about? We can talk about what you've been hearing on. Conte is obviously a hot topic right now. So I don't know if you guys want to go into details or what do you guys want to do next. I feel like we should. Today is the 40th anniversary of the disaster that occurred on this day in 1985 in Hazel. So I would like to just play the reel that I created a year ago, exactly a year ago, if you guys don't mind, so we remember those victims. And I know it's a sad occasion, but as Juventus fans and people representing the community, we must play this. So give me about a minute and a half, and for those who don't know, here's a recap of what happened that day. Let's talk about the Heysel Stadium disaster, which occurred on May 29th, 1985. Poor organization, a stadium in disrepair, and hooliganism caused deaths of 39 Juventus supporters and injuries to 600 others. It remains a somber chapter in football history. Approximately an hour before the start of the European Cup final between Juventus and Liverpool, incidents of aggression from the Liverpool supporters began taking place. They occupied the area that was supposed to be a neutral zone.
Fans were throwing objects back and forth, leading to larger-scale physical aggression. The chicken wire fence separating the sections was ripped down, and the fans in the neutral section began to run away from the Liverpool hooligans who had become violent. They charged at the Juventus supporters and breached the fence that was separating them from the neutral area. Fans already standing near the wall were crushed as others ran towards it. Eventually, the wall collapsed, allowing some to escape, but also leading to the majority of deaths. The stadium was poorly maintained and had failed inspections prior to the disaster. Interestingly enough, the game was allowed to go on, and Michel Platini scored the only goal. Platini later said that he celebrated the win with tears in his eyes. It hasn't left me, just like it hasn't left anyone else who was there that night, and remains with all of those who lost a loved one, for whom everything changed in a few terrible minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the game was allowed to go on. Would never have happened today. So I'm glad us and our kids are going to stadiums with safer conditions and going home after the game. So that's super important. All right. Yeah, 40 years today was Freddie, do you know if they're opening the memorial in Turin, or was it already open? Because pictures that I saw look like AI. You can never tell nowadays,
No, it was open. There was a commemorative service, and even the big boss Alkan attended. No Giuntoli, though.
Someone was not there.
Who was missing?
Yeah.
Il cuoco. The chef.
The chef.
Yeah, chef needs to find a new restaurant, I guess, right? Freddie, you messaged us privately. Do you want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, Conte seems to officially declare that he's staying at Napoli, or Napoli sent some sort of a press release. I'll dive into that later on tomorrow. Just what I can say about this whole thing is because I'm reading a lot of bullshit, like people basically booing Alcon, booing Chiellini. You should be booing Conte. You should be booing Conte. He gave his word more than a month and a half ago. You guys know that because I've been messaging you back and forth about that.
Yeah.
And he pulled back at the last minute. Why did he pull back? Well, he gets more money. That's basically it. He gets more money and
Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
Why is everybody so crazy about him? I don't understand. I mean, yeah, 7, 6, 5 years ago, I understand, but now
he can make the difference in Italy.
Okay.
In my opinion, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, that certainly bums all of us out because, I mean, when you think about it, money is a reason, but there's also huge risk with Juve. Why wouldn't he stay at Napoli if you think about it and continue his, try to win another one, strengthen the club, keep going with it,
Well, he's not going to. He'll do the same thing he did in the past, and Alcon made it quite clear during the negotiations that he didn't want to have anyone within Juventus with, how shall I put it, too much dominance, in the sense that Conte wanted to have the final word on transfers and everything pitch related, and Alcon wasn't having that. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good news in disguise. I know we're a bit disappointed because we have no plan B at this point, but the fact that Alcon is making very clear and transparent decisions is something to be happy of, and I'm very happy that Comolli is coming, because I read into him during the weekend, during the days off here in Belgium, and I'm pretty excited.
I spoke to a buddy of mine who's a Tottenham supporter, and he was laughing. But again, it's Tottenham, so is he good? Is he not? But there's also, I know I found a Toulouse fan, and they're saying that he's able to, get rid of expensive players buy at a discount. So maybe that's what we need. But is there any of you guys who are dubious about the decision about getting rid of Giuntoli? I know Freddie is super against him, and he's happy that he's gone. But I don't know, man.
But the thing is, Farad, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like we've seen what Giuntoli has done, and that's not fairly positive. I think we can all agree. But I heard stuff in between that I cannot divulge, like about the person and the way he communicates with people within the group, with other managers, with players, and that's the reason why he was sacked. It's not just because of the transfers. For Alcon, that's something secondary. The way he communicated, the way he conducted himself, is something that Alcon feels is a bridge too far, and that's the main reason for him being sacked.
Well, it's nice that he's trying to keep the you like this style of Juve and the feeling of Juventus. So maybe if someone's not behaving correctly, he tries to keep the tradition alive. So you're against it, Kevin. You're all for it. You're all for Giuntoli going. Kevin, Zach,
I think it's too many mistakes. Too many mistakes.
What do you think was the biggest of them all? And why is its name Louise?
It's not Louise. It's not
no,
Douglas
it's not
Louise.
Louise. It's not Coop Miners either. I think those two players specifically. I mean, we were all excited for it, right?
Yeah. He delivered what he needed.
We're all judgmental with the benefit of hindsight, right? And a player that completely false started, the weight of the shirt was too much. Douglas Luiz, I don't know if we'll ever know. Maybe we'll know what happened, whether he truly wasn't match fit. There was other personality issues. Who knows? He had an electric seat in Aston Villa going to the Champions League for the first time in how many years? Like, challenging that was difficult. But and so when you spend what on those two players, over 100 million combined on those two players, and they misfire, that's difficult. I think the problem isn't those two players, it's the way the money was spent and the rest of the squad was put together. And Zach, I know, has been very critical that it was an incomplete squad. We came into the season without a true right back. We came into the season without a backup to Dusan. We had a Milik who never stepped foot on the field, right? We didn't have enough depth at center back, and like losing Bremer was a terrible thing that nobody wants to see, but you see how we got exposed. I think there was young talent that was either we were so excited about the ability to get capital gains on players that came through our academy, and so excited to get 10, 15, 20 million euros for players that had much more upside. And I just think there was a short-sighted view on too many players. And it's hard to predict that Huijsen would have been going to Real Madrid at 50 million just a year into that. But I just think when you look at the amount of money that was spent on two players, when we had talents like Fagioli, Hans Nicolosi,
still hurts. That still hurts.
Look at Miretti still, and like, would we just have been better off keeping some of those guys and buying a second or a third striker, buying a proper right back, spending 30 million on a center midfielder somewhere, Richie or just anybody, instead of going all in on those when you didn't have a complete squad? And Freddie, I mean, you called out the Thiago Motta decision from the beginning of the season, that he wasn't somebody that you thought had proven that he had the ability to step in and lead the overhaul of the most storied shirt in Italy. And your opinion proved to be right. And I think Zach and I were excited about him. We saw early indicators that there was a change, and we had to have some patience. And I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And I think when there's a level of accountability that needs to be felt, this was year zero. He was given a very large purse, spent it holistically unwisely, and brought in a coach that couldn't make the season. There's a price to be paid.
Zach.
I think that Kevin touched on my biggest complaint, which was providing Mota with an imbalanced squad. Whether Mota wanted those players or not, it was his role to build the team. We talked about it ad nauseum early season and even preseason that when looking at Mota's tactics, Dusan Vlahovic is the antithesis of the Mota striker. And you put all your eggs in that basket by not selling him or getting him competition for the spot. That manifested in our early year struggles at scoring goals. You lose your best player and you don't have any, obviously that's going to hurt any franchise, but a part of me has to try to hold back and be like, what would our season been like with Bremer and a competent striker? It could have been wildly different because of all of those draws with the slimmest of margins. And when I look at what the team could have been if the squad was planned holistically and spent holistically, even ignoring, Mota getting rid of Danilo, which I didn't agree with, or Fagioli, which I didn't agree with. Anyone, even us armchair experts, could see that the team was not built right. We didn't have the striker. We didn't have a right back. We didn't have depth in key positions. And all of those areas ended up killing us over the course of this season. So if obvious stuff isn't even accounted for, like how are we supposed to put our trust in this individual to run and build the organization?
Yeah. Should we recap the biggest disappointments of the year first, and then we'll because people were yes sir.
We've been really negative for the last 15 minutes. Can we get some positivity? Can we talk fun stuff? Let's park the negative. There are things
let's do it.
There's some great players and performances and growth for some. So let's focus on that.
Let's go.
Best MVP? Want to do it?
MVP of the season. I mean, do we agree or do we not agree? I
think we're going to get some different answers, but I think they all have merit.
All right, Kevin.
Freddie, you were just shaking your head, so why don't you put out your...
It has to be Turin. Has to be, in my opinion. Well, before he signed, when there was rumor that he was going to sign, I looked into him a little bit. I thought, well, this could be a diamond in the rough, but I didn't see anything special about him. Also, due to the fact that he was playing in Ligue 1. So it's very difficult to assess the quality of a player when he's playing in an inferior league or a smaller team. But the way that he progressed throughout the season, for me, has been amazing, even because of, if you look at the team he had and the whole negativity around the squad, the club, and everything, he still managed to, play his game decently. He had some few off games, but I think he's somebody who's an enforcement in every midfield. And he's the one thing that Giuntoli did right, in my opinion.
Love it. Turam. Zach, who's your guy of the year, man?
It's got to be Kenan Yildiz. Based on being a kid who had just kind of garbage time minutes last season, to step up this year, get the 10 jersey, and be the man. He was second in our team in goals, first in our team in non-penalty goals. He was first in our team in assists. He showed, especially after that 4-4 Inter draw early on the season, that he could be the man, and grew throughout the season with his production, both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, to show that he was the most important player on our team. In fact, he found himself in 7 different top 10 places in Serie A across passing and attacking stats, more than any other Juventus player. And as a young man who getting his first opportunity to then be that impactful on the score sheet and that impactful in our manner of play, makes him unquestionably, in my mind, the MVP of our season.
At 19 years old. I don't know if you mentioned that, but that's mind-boggling to me. That kid's not even 20 yet, Or is he 20 already?
He just turned 20.
Just turned 20.
So this is cool. We get to give 3 different answers. So mine is Il Capitano, Manuel Locatelli. I think a polarizing individual on Juve's squad over the last number of years. I think when he joined, there was a lot more excitement for what he was doing in Sassuolo, what he had done in the Italian national team when he had that double in the Euros. I think it was the Euros when he had that. And our one of our attendees on YouTube just supported me with Locatelli #1. So shout out to MF for joining here with us. Looking over the last couple seasons, particularly with Allegri, he struggled. He was a bit out of position, wasn't playing the regista role well. He was frustrating. He bleeds black and white. He is a bianconero, right? And we know that. And it was always just not living up to maybe what we wanted him to be as a player. And I think that transformed a bit this year, and where we really started to see him be the heartbeat of the midfield and of the team. Yes, a misfiring team, but this was a team that we expected coming into this year, that we would be looking at a midfield trio of Koop Miners, Douglas Luiz, and Thuram, with Locatelli taking a seat on the bench next to McKennie. But who played the most games this season? It was Locatelli along with Yildiz. I believe they tied, I think, at the end, if keep me honest. So they played the most.
48.
He had well over 2,000 passes this season. He's top 5 across the top 3 leagues for accurate long balls. He was criticized heavily for his lack of vertical play under Allegri, and he did take a step forward this year. And in a year, and we talked about this on the last podcast too, so I'm repeating myself a bit, but he was the captain who wasn't supposed to be. It started with Thiago Motta rotating, right? Because Thiago Motta did not give that, did not really keep it with Danilo, and it rotated, and eventually it stuck with Locatelli. Locatelli is not Del Piero, Buffon, Chiellini, or even Bonucci or Danilo for that matter, but he has the best kind of black and white heartbeat on the team. And I think knows what the shirt means, even if he's not the best natural leader. And what he did in that last game was incredibly commendable. And I have such respect for him taking ownership of what is expected of the captain, the captaincy at Juve. But beyond that, it's just when Locatelli had a bad game, Juve had a bad game. And he's very capable of making mistakes, and it happened frequently throughout the season. But more often than not, he put in a good match, and when he had a good match, Juve won. So for that reason, Locatelli.
I would add that Locatelli, between Yildiz and Locatelli, was close for me. Locatelli does find himself top 10 in 6 different categories in Serie A, 3 of them on the defensive side, showing that consistency and that effectiveness in the defensive side he showed under Allegri, but also 3 of those 6 in the passing side that Kevin alluded to. So nobody else on Juventus other than Yildiz and Locatelli were in, I think, more than 2 top 10 categories, with them in 7 and 6 respectively. Is really credit to both of them.
Yeah.
Most improved?
See, I'll start with that because that's Locatelli to me. It's funny that you say I got Thuram and Locatelli on my list elsewhere for both of your MVPs, but most improved, it came to him as I was trying to split hairs on MVP because of what you talked about and how he was so heavily criticized, booed by Juventus fans. And when you look at his game last year, or for the years under Allegri, it was really a defensive first production at the end of the day, because of the nature of the style of play and how he fit into it. His passing that we saw this year just wasn't ever utilized, and so he was kind of a defense only midfielder, expanding that offensive side of his game, utilizing a vision and a passing range that he clearly had and just wasn't using, unlocked our team in a lot of ways. And because of his contribution in that passing phase, because it wasn't just good for our team, but one of the top in not only in Serie A, but in the top 5 leagues, made him, and I've described him in the past as sort of the engine of our midfield. And considering he went from being booed to being our captain who steps up to take that penalty kick and really drives the rhythm with which we play, has him as my most improved, to the point where he was, with Yildiz in debate for MVP for me.
Makes a lot of sense.
We can't overstate that penalty. That I feel like people who are financially invested in Juve were just biting their nails watching that penalty, because that was literally like a $500 million penalty right there. Europa League is not the same as the Champions League, so we're all super happy he stepped up. Great penalty.
Did you say 500 million?
I think
I
like
don't know.
60 to 80 somewhere.
Whatever, but like I'm talking in terms of future, and
yeah.
And
you must be from America.
I was throwing at the number out there, but yeah, that penalty definitely solidified his status as MVP for me as well. But I do love me some Yildiz. I love me a player that is exciting to watch. Who, if he gets the ball, you do the PlayStation lean forward. You pay a little more attention to that. And actually, speaking of Thuram as well, he was kind of that guy for me too towards the end of the season. Everyone knows that I wasn't a huge fan. I didn't understand what the hype was, but by after the winter break, he definitely improved, and I loved his runs through the middle. That caused a lot of trouble for the opposition. So for me, Thuram was he was the disappointed and the most improved in one season, if I can say that. But yeah, I agree with all of you guys. Should we move on to the people?
Frederic and Kevin haven't done theirs.
Oh, really?
No,
I mean, most improved for me. I would. I mean, I think in order to give an answer, they had to have been with the squad the previous season.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put Locatelli in both. It's got to be Yildiz. I think Yildiz went from still being not a very well-known player last season to stepping into the Champions League and scoring that goal a la Del Piero and really getting attention from analysts, from pundits, from top Premiership sides, regardless if they're just rumored or real. But he really stepped out. My other answer, MF, also agreeing with me, is I think is McKennie. Only in the sense of his ability to continue to prove doubters wrong. And I think statistically, I don't have him in front of me right now, Zach, maybe you do. I don't think there was a ton of improvement on last year, other than he scored a couple more goals this year than he did the previous year. He definitely had more assists last season, but he's still the leading Juve assister combined over the last 2 years.
Can you be the most improved player when last year he led our team in assists? I mean, like, I realize he's utilized in different ways, but he did score more goals this year. But that's good production, and his overall goals plus assists are less this year by 1. So could he? Does that mean
improved in the sense? I think in the sense of how important he was. Like, I don't think he was as important last. I mean, it's hard to debate that, I guess, if he had the most assists, but I think his criticality to the team when he was doubted and cast to the side and was supposed to not be a part of this team, and still came in and played almost every single role on the pitch except for center back and goalkeeper. And just
you don't know that. Maybe they were trying to get him out there as a keeper.
I just think like that step forward to being an indispensable part of this squad when he wasn't supposed to be here deserves that attention. Now, do I think he's world class? Do I think he is Juve quality through and through, and he would bench any midfielder from the 9 straight Scudetti winning seasons? No. But is he somebody I'm happy is on this team and merits being a part of a squad player? Yes, I do.
So McKennie had 5 goals and 4 assists this season.
Yeah, versus 0 and 10 last year. I think there's I would argue he's the most underappreciated Juventus player by virtue of what you're saying, Kevin.
Okay, maybe that's. I agree. That's a better way of clarifying it. But Frederic, what about you? Most improved.
First of all, I'd like to say I agree with you both. Valid points. But the fact that we have to choose Locatelli and McKennie as our most improved speaks volumes about the quality of the squad we had this season, in my honest opinion.
Yeah,
because none of these two would play in a real Juventus, in my opinion.
Frederic, you're only saying that because your most improved player is probably Dusan, right?
Goes without saying. I mean, look at the guy. I mean, no. I actually agree with you, Zach. I think Loca, but not because you gave a very, very elaborate and very good analysis of his stats and the way that he played this season. I'm not that kind of guy. I just think he's the most improved because he had the balls to take that penalty.
The vibe check.
That for me was something, because I don't like Locatelli. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I don't like him. I don't know why. There's just something that I don't know. I don't know. It feels. I don't know. I'm not gonna go into that. But the fact that he stepped up and took that penalty as a true captain speaks volumes, and he gained my respect with that. And he did play decent games. But like I said in the beginning, the fact that we have to isolate McKennie and Loca as our top or most improved players, whatever you want to call it, speaks volumes in my opinion. After seeing Zidane, Nedved, Davids, Vidal, Marquisio, I mean, it rubs me the wrong way. But credits where credits due. I mean,
if I may, we touched on the goalkeeper, and I feel like Di Gregorio didn't get much airtime from us this season. I know Freddie is not a huge fan, and we respect opinions here, even if they're wrong. But I feel like even up until the last game, that left-handed save. Don't underestimate the importance of that save, because
I mean, we went and got the penalty right after that save. You're talking about the one at the near post, like right
near post, difficult to get to, top corner. That goal would have destroyed our season, and even if we went back and scored that penalty, would have been a draw, which we can't afford. But yeah, Di Gregorio, real quickly, if any of you guys want to talk about our keeper.
At Juventus, we've been spoiled with fantastic, world-class goalkeepers and
goats.
I think the fact that we haven't talked much Di Gregorio, if anything, is evidence with how good he has been for us. I think his biggest weakness is his aerial duels. Mm-hmm. He has definitely seemed shaky on some of those. But his shot stopping ability and his facilitation of possession, both short and long, has been demonstrated throughout the season. And I think if he had been maybe the littlest mistakes here or there, or some of the howlers that Szczesny even had early in seasons, just letting in seemingly easy saves in, if that had happened, I think we would be talking a lot more about Di Gregorio. But for the most part, he has done a fantastic job. In fact, in certain games like the left-handed save you're talking about, or a couple saves early on in the Man City game and throughout the year, he's made the saves when he's needed to keep us in games. And I don't blame him for those late game goals that were conceded in all those draws. He's made the saves when he's needed to, and I think it's a credit to him that we haven't had to talk about him much, because that is a mark, in my opinion, of a good keeper.
I can't.
Believe me, we would if he gave us an opportunity to talk shit, we would. And that's actually so funny, because I'm getting messages about, especially after the last episode where we took 4th place, and some people were happy, some people were disappointed with the whole celebrations and Juventus posting of congratulations and all that. I mean, as Juve fans, we're happy we made it, of course, but you can't expect us to praise the team that barely made, fourth place and 15 minutes to go. So, are we happy? Yes.
I have to go out on a limb, and also because good dig at me with the D grade thing, but I think Di Gregorio is a decent keeper, but that's about it. So that's the thing that irks me the most. Like the last couple of years, we're getting so used to mediocrity that everybody who plays decent is good, and that's something that irritates me, because like I said, Di Gregorio is a solid good keeper. Is he a Juve keeper? No, but then again, we're not Juve anymore.
We're going to talk about that though, Frederic. We're going to talk. I mean, spoilers. To the folks listening, and certainly those lives, you get ready for it. But we're going to go on the roster, and we're going to basically say, keep, loan, or sell. And so we'll kind of weigh in on that relative to kind of our expectations or our demand for certain people's.
I just wanted to point out, I'm not anti Di Gregorio as such. Just I just don't fancy him as a very good keeper.
I mean, there's room for improvement, of course. I'm glad we touched on him, because he certainly wasn't the worst player on the team.
No,
maybe
no.
Would you say top 5, Freddie? Top 5 of the season?
For best players?
Yes, top 5.
Yes. Top 5. Di Gregorio has a spot, I think.
Right.
Yeah, alongside with the usual suspects, of course. Yeah.
Should we? I know we're live on YouTube. We'll be doing more of these next season, and throughout summer we'll be recapping the games that you have played in the Club World Cup. But we have a question from Azem here. Azem is asking, with Conte out of the question, who should manage Juve next? It's kind of a fresh news, right? Freddie, anything on the next coach? Plan B, plan C?
Alcan has made it clear that he wants the whole managerial board to decide. So I'm as of now, I'm not privy to what is going to happen. If I could pick, and I'm just a nobody, I'd pick Emery. But that's just me.
Interesting.
I don't know if Zach has any tactical insight on if he would be a good fit or not, or Kevin has another thing that he needs to say about Emery.
But I feel it. I'd say hell yeah.
Yeah, Unai Emery has proven that he can win, that he can win trophies, and I think he's also proven that he can take a team and make it more than the sum of its parts, something that Mota, of course, failed to do. I think with Unai Emery, he does have a particular personality about him, sometimes that can rub folks the wrong way. And so I'm just wondering, and I have no objection to a foreign, a non-Italian manager over Juventus, but I wonder if he is a personality fit with this sort of cohesive managerial structure that Alcan seems to be trying to put together. And that would be the big question for me, is if he is aligned with them and a good personality fit for those folks. And I'm not necessarily opposed to it. If they find out that that is the case, then I don't want him anywhere near Juventus.
Well, let's go through a list of potential people, right? Gasperini. And there's literally half an hour before we started recording, there's huge shakeups in Serie A right now. Allegri going back to Milan, that should be interesting. If he keeps up what he's been doing, I don't think there's much Milan have to look forward to, unless he changed his outlook on the game. Roma, Gasperini is going to Roma, right?
That's where it's leaning. Yeah, it's leaning.
What I know, just got this in, by the way. He asked 48 hours. He had a dinner with Ranieri himself and the president of Roma today, and he asked for 48 hours to think it through. So
interesting. Would you guys take Gasperini if at that 48-hour mark he says no to Roma? No. Interesting. Because with him,
I don't want anything in this club coming from Atalanta or Fiorentina or Inter for that matter. Everything that comes from these clubs just ends up cursing us.
I think he's too old, because Gasperini, he did amazing with Atalanta, but it needs a couple of years to gel before he can, finalize his project or get him to the utmost standard and get the maximum out of the players. And we don't have that time, and B, I just feel like he's a bit, I think he's too old to start a new cycle, to be honest. And for the apology part, I'm not.
Hold on. For those who are listening, there's a comment from Mario. I think he's a part of our Juventus Chicago group. He's saying, can we get an apology from Freddie Scoops for convincing us Conte was coming? To be fair, you kept up with the time. If I can apologize, if I can step in for you, Freddie was, he was reporting as it was. The fact that Conte changed his mind, we can't really control that, right?
No, and the fact that what bothers me is not the fact that the apology or whatever. I just feel, because I had some time to think it over, I think for us as a club, it's better if Conte stays where he is. Because if you're truly a Juventus guy through and through, and you get the job offer from Alcon himself, hey, help us out, we're in dire need, and you say no, then what's the point? But that's discussion for tomorrow. Mario.
Okay, many people are saying that. I forgot what I was going to say. Never mind. Go ahead, Freddie.
So no, we'll talk about that tomorrow and other things, because there's a whole lot of information I could fill like a podcast with regards to what Zach has been saying. But I think today is about looking back at the season, and we still have a lot of things to discuss. So let's get on with that, and we'll see about tomorrow.
Why don't we go to best game and best goal, but get through it with some pace.
All right, best game, best goal. I got my game of the year as the Inter Juventus 4-4 draw. Those unfortunate, those penalties, down 4-2. Yildiz comes on, super sub, scores those 2 goals. I think it's worth noting that Juventus, it went one win, 1 draw against, it hurts to say, Champions League finalist Inter. And that game was just super hyped in the San Siro. And really is what I consider Yildiz's kind of coming out party. I think he'd been kind of inconsistent in the early stages of the season. Some games just not being able to find his way into the game. That's really where it seemed to change for him as during his rise of the season to be like the dude of our team. And so for that's a game of the year. And for the goal of the year, there were a couple candidates that I have, but since I jumped in and went first, I'm going to go with the Juventus team goal against Lecce in April. I've got it for everybody. Please look back on it in the 32nd minute. Just this beautiful interchange that started with Turin running through the middle, give and go with Yildiz, a give and go with Dusan. Yildiz slots it home far corner. This was just a beautiful display of 1-2 touch passing and give and goes. Of what ultimately Multiball was supposed to bring, and we had to wait all the way for Igor Tudor to see it happen. So please go back, check out that goal. It was fantastic.
Mad at you for taking that one, because I was in the stadium to see that live. That was my choice. But I'll step in just real quick. It's the Leipzig match for me. I can't remember a Juve match over the last however many years with that level of kind of anxiety, emotion, up and down, like jumping off the couch, screaming, and just all the adversity we overcame in that match, the energy from the team, the beautiful goals from Dusan, which was his best contribution of the year, Conceição's final goal, overcoming the red cards. I mean, that game just had everything, and a game that we had no business winning. That's a game that I will remember. I will remember that for years and what I experienced in that match. And since you stole, Zach, my goal of the year from one I personally witnessed in the flesh, I'll go with it was Conceição's goal with the 1-0 win over Inter when Kolo Muani took that out of the air and just like the pirouettes in the box.
I think that's
that was
assist of the season for sure.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
Freddie's like, I did not like any of them.
No, fuck them all. Oh, sorry, we're live. No, my game of the year was against City, Manchester City, not just because of the game, but the vibe. I honestly thought during that game, like, we're so back. Like, I could feel like
you and all of us.
It was a pivotal point, and I'm sad in hindsight that it didn't happen, that it wasn't that crucial moment we expected. But the feeling I got, especially because of the fact that we did that live on YouTube, as I recall.
That was actually, thanks for bringing that up, because it was the first live. It was just fun. It was super fun to watch the comments and watch with you guys, and the win didn't hurt it at all. So yeah,
so it was a combination of those factors that made it for me the game of the year.
Sure.
And regarding goal of the year, I think I have to pick Kolo Muani's goal against Venezia. I don't know. It wasn't a beautiful goal or whatever. It was just the goal.
Are we doing the most beautiful goal or the goal that mattered most?
I went with most beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, that one was beautiful. I don't know why, because Kolo Muani didn't get that many chances with Tudor. He preferred Vlahovic most of the time. And to see a striker in that sort of game with that sort of weight on it, still doing that thing, that movement, and that finishing, to me, is sublime. So for me, that was a very important and a very emotional goal.
We'll accept that. Is it my turn? Am I going? My favorite game of the season was against Inter. Hold on, I'm trying to find the best layout so you guys can see my... I fixed the lighting, by the way. last episode of the season, I finally got the lighting correct. But a game of the season was Inter Juve 4-4, because we were watching with the Juve fan club of Chicago, who's you can see this beautiful flag dedicated to Marchisio. Ton of people in there. It was probably the most attended meeting of the year, celebrating every goal, chanting after. It was Yildiz with 2 goals against Inter. And back then, he was still kind of like a youngster. He grew exponentially throughout the year, but back then, getting 2 goals from Yildiz was such a treat. And I'd like to think that this draw is what stopped Inter from winning the league. So, yeah, it was the 2 points that we took away from them. Dan Colosimo is on. Look at that. Spelling favorite with a U, you freaking Canucks. Favorite game was Venezia, Juve, because the season was over. How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Amen.
Please go search for Colo99 on YouTube. If the man is just a producing machine. So if you want to see some of the best Juve edits, not some of the best Juve edits online, please go to Colo99. Somehow he gets taken off YouTube every year, but he gains all of the followers back. It's just a testament of how great his editing is. Sometimes we have nothing to watch at home, we pop in a Colo99 mixtape, and thanks, buddy. Actually, the one who produced and helped us with the Dele Alpi shirt that Kevin is rocking, TurinGiants.com. Please help us out. That's right. The season was over. I mean, it was a collective sigh of relief, right? Let's give some shout outs to Azem. My game of the season was against Leipzig also, and for the goal of the season, I will go for the goal Yildiz scored against Lecce, where he had a back pass from Vlahovic. Seems to be the favorite around here, huh?
I mean, it was. If you don't know the goal we're talking about, go back and watch it. 33rd minute.
Fantastic goal.
It is fantastic. Yeah.
Goal.
So check it out.
What about the fall scissor kick by McKennie and Man City Juve, or Juve Man City, I should say?
Good goal. Locatelli's volley against Roma. Good goal. Koop Miner's free kick, I think, in a Copa game. Great goal. So we did have even Dušan's second goal against Leipzig before Chico's winner was a fantastic one. We've had some good ones this year.
Are we gonna give a shout out to Mr. Mbangula? He actually did score a winner. Beautiful upper 90. I don't remember who he scored against, but that
Milan
was the goal
in end of January. Fantastic goal as well.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing that
awesome.
up.
That was the one where we didn't believe Vlahovic would get there, right? He ran half the field to provide the assist. Was that it? Yeah, I mean,
some news about Mbangula tomorrow as well.
Ooh, interesting. Join us on Turin Giants presents The Scoop. You should have seen us. You should have seen the thread, us choosing the name for the podcast for that podcast. Yeah, The Scoop. I feel like Scoop is cool. I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and Mbangula, he speaking of him, let's dedicate a couple of minutes to him. He was the guy that nobody knew about, and Mota brings him in. He scores in his debut against I don't remember whom in the Champions League. And then kind of fizzled out, which sucks. It's not like he got a lot of opportunities either. But
did he fizzle out? Did he fizzle out, or was he just not given an opportunity under?
He was not given an opportunity. Yeah. I actually have a voice drop for him.
Sammy Mbangula, Sammy Mbangula. Welcome to Bangulandia.
Bangulandia. Of course. Giuseppe, I actually texted Giuseppe to join us as a surprise, but he's busy. He's doing his own live right now, killing our views. That's why we have 5 people on right now. we should definitely watch his schedule before we plan one of these. But let's get back to he's the GOAT. We can't.
Why don't we go through the squad real quick?
Let's do it.
All right, I think I have. Let's see if this actually works here.
So the game is right. Keep, sell, and I guess for some of the youngsters, loan. Right.
Yeah.
Do it.
So I think looking at the goalkeepers, right? Perin, Pinzolio, Di Gregorio. I'm just going to keep this one easy and just go keep. I don't. Personally, I don't see a reason with the money that needs to be spent this summer that's an area of attention for this offseason. Any of you guys disagree?
No dispute.
I wonder how much money Perin makes that it doesn't make sense to him financially to go somewhere else. Do you guys know his salary? I mean, I should have brought it up
He's
before.
Juventino. He loves it here.
Yeah. 1.3 million a year.
Damn, he could be making so much more, but I'm happy to have him as a backup. Actually, he was one of the men of the match at was it who did we play?
Leipzig.
Miami boys.
Was it he came in after the red card and did a fantastic job against. I don't know if he was man of the match in that one, but he made some really important saves at the end of that game in the dying minutes to keep us up. What was it 3-2?
Was it the Stuttgart match? Or was it a different one where he was we were dog shit, but he was absolutely lights out. But then there was a penalty at the end, and he almost kept us single-handedly in that. I forget which match it was. It was Champions League.
I remember it was a draw that we needed to win, but he was one of those man of the match recipients, but that was really sad in the photo. But yeah, he definitely has a.
If Szczesny says that he's one of the best keepers that he's had the honor to train with, that's saying a lot, I think. So
did you guys see Szczesny hitting the vape and steaming all over one of the Barcelona players? 3 inches away from his face, he just blows smoke all over this kid. And he just steps out. Szczesny, I love Szczesny. I'm glad he had a good season. Yes.
Right, back to it, Kevin.
Yes.
Right. So do we go defenders now?
I think we can.
Zach is in a hurry. Let's go.
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep us on task. Right.
I was trying to share the screen to pull up the players, but let's just go through the defenders quickly. So we've got Bremer keep. You guys speak up if there's something you want to challenge. Then otherwise, I'm going to keep going. Gatti keep. Kelly.
Look at Freddie unmuting himself.
Also, fun fact. Gatti should have signed his contract extension today till 2030, I think. When he got the message, and his agent too, that it was not going to happen today, because that was something that Giuntoli brought along and worked on, and he got the message today that it was not going to happen. So I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm just saying, what I heard today.
For the sake of having an Italian central defender, and he's the best one we have. So
I think they'll probably renegotiate his contract or extend it, but I think it speaks volumes that they want to keep everything within the managerial side, and they want everybody within the new managing group to decide whether or not to go forth with certain players. And I think that's a good thing, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So there's, I guess, as we move forward with some of these, I think there's going to be situations where what I would do personally, just based on my take on the player, but then there's probably also the reality of what is actually possible. So my next one, like Lloyd Kelly, sell.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a market for that, but sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Vega, again, I would actually keep him, but I don't know how possible that is given the actual market dynamics and what the situation Chelsea's in. I would keep him.
Mm-hmm.
Kalulu, I would keep.
Absolutely. The largest head in the world.
Cambiasso is a hard one for me to answer. I want to keep him, but if somebody does need to be sacrificed for the expenses, that's going to get us more than 30 or 40 million this season. He's probably the one to go after beyond Duzan, but I want to say keep. I know he had an off season, but I think it's just all the transfer speculation. He had some niggling injuries. I would say keep.
He had an off half season. He was stellar the first half of this year.
Sell him immediately. Sell him. I'm not going to go into deeper as to why, but
fair enough.
Sell him.
Cabal, I would keep. Savona, I would loan.
Costa.
Keep.
Keep. Yes. I like that kid.
Why didn't he show up on my list here? Where'd he go? Weird. But yes, Costa keep. Yes, 100% keep. Really like the way he stepped up. All right, so going to our centrocampisti, Locatelli keep.
Yeah,
Coop Miners keep. McKennie keep.
Absolutely.
Sell.
You would sell?
I think we
regardless of what management will do, having a guy who can play every position at his level of quality
exactly it.
is so valuable, Freddie. Like, why would you sell him?
Not even worth what we're going to get for him, I think.
That's what you say. I just feel like
all the scoops.
For certain offers, you need to let players go, especially if the players themselves indicate that they love to pursue that offer. So,
yes,
I mean, we can say but there's so much dynamics involved in this whole Mercato thing, and so many how should I put it, unstable factors that can decide the outcome of something. If I was the manager and McKennie came to me and said, "Manager, I want to stay," I'd say stay.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you get thrown an offer,
it earlier because you're talking about these dynamics. If somebody comes in and says, "I'll give you 50 million for McKennie," yes, sell. But if you're looking at putting a squad together and you have somebody, as Zach said, that can play every position, knows this team, represents what we want in somebody that just runs his ass off all day and does put in the effort, yeah, I keep him. But of course, for the right offer, there's a price.
And it's important to know, will the player be motivated? I mean, will he be happy within Juventus?
I think Freddie needs to.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Freddie needs to take his fedora off for this one.
I'm gonna sit this one out.
We're moving on. Adzic loan.
Yeah.
Turam keep. Douglas Luiz sell. No. Freddie, you differ.
I wouldn't
something
sell him.
Or your preference, different things.
My preference. I wouldn't sell him. I think he has so much to offer, and we have just seen glimpses this season due to inconsistency, due to poor coaching. And and that's the big if he is happy at Juventus and wants to really have a crack at being a first team player and has that enthusiasm and that motivation, I think he can be an asset, especially to coaches who love to play with like the old school number 10 or somebody, just a bit up front in the middle. But also the dynamics again. Does the coach or the new coach see him fit and etc.? But for me, I think he oozes football.
I think that both for Douglas Luiz and Coop Miners, I would so desperately want them to work out, and I believe that the fact that they haven't, in part, was due to the management of them by the coach. What does concern me about Douglas Luiz is that he saw no playing time under Tudor either, which makes me wonder what's going on there. From a pure footballing standpoint, I keep him for another year.
I think there's too much damage done, but understood, and I value that. So, our Atacanti, this one will create some conversation, I'm sure. Conceição, I would not keep him. I would not sign him.
Me neither.
That one I think more so than literally any other player on our team, except maybe Mbangula. It depends on what coach we get. I think. And even on the last episode, I've kind of pseudo defended him from his contribution to our team for goal creating actions per 90, first on our team. He did appear in a couple of the top 10 stats in Serie A by virtue of his dribbling and attacking play, and in the right scheme. I think that type of player is extremely valuable. Without getting into various dynamics and economics, he's a player with the right coach I would keep.
Okay. Vlahovic, sell.
Yesterday.
Okay, no more conversation.
I give him away for free. I mean,
Mr. Buongiorno.
Deep.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If I would sell the whole squad just to keep him.
Yeah. Nico.
Sell.
I know we just bought him, but I would sell him.
Sell with prejudice.
Nico,
I know he works hard, but he's not delivering.
Nico has, per FOTMob, the third highest seasonal rating on our entire team. I would keep him.
And he doesn't even excel.
So,
I just think it doesn't fit. I mean, I like his style, his aggressive style of his work rate and his dedication and devotion.
I can see him going.
There's more we can get for 30 million.
He had the same goal contribution as McKennie and played 1,000 fewer minutes. He definitely had
position.
I mean, yeah, you said that he was playing right wing back at the end of the year. So I mean, this is like he in the same way McKennie played every position. Nico Gonzalez did too. I think he underperformed to his goal contributions at Fiorentina, and there were some games where he just had howlers. Where like there was a period of 3 games where he just forgot how to pass the ball. So it wasn't at all a perfect season, but I think I would keep him by what he has shown throughout his career.
Actually, I might change it. I do like him. He did have a shitty season, but the desire is there, and
the thing is, we're prone to scrutinize players within the fact that how much they're getting paid or how much they're being transferred to. And if you look at our last seasons, we didn't have any bargains, so to speak. So if you come in with that premise of being a player that's been highly paid, transfer-wise or loan-wise, and you don't perform, then automatically as a supporter, you're a bit biased, I think.
Yeah.
And I think
and I'm probably am right, and I'm
of course, but that's why we're supporters. I mean, that's why we're fans. We think of the money that has been spent to get a player who should enable us to do this or that. Then that player fails to do that due to several reasons. We look at the price tag and we go, "Oh shit, we bought a cat in the bag." And
if Dusan was bought for 15 million and made 2 million a year, we probably wouldn't be complaining about him as much. But the expectation is set for a certain return on that investment, and it's not there.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is how much was Nico bought for, Frederick?
32, I think.
Yeah, 32. So we got him for 32. He had more goal contribution in fewer minutes than Coop Miners, who you would keep, and was way more involved in our game by game play than Douglas Luiz, who you said keep, but you would do away with Nico Gonzalez.
Oh,
I think you can monetize. No, I think you can monetize more with players as Douglas Luiz or Coop Miners. I think if they play a decent season, because of the fact you already paid as much for them, you don't go to lower that price. With Nico, I think I can't see him being sold for 60, 70 million.
I mean, he's the same age as Coop. He could be sold for 60 or 70 if he has a good year. He did not have a great year, but his year was not nearly as bad as Coop Miners or Douglas Luiz, who just didn't play. That's why for the sake of the game, that's why I would keep.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, it's an opinion, but if they tell me that we can buy Jonathan David for 30, bonuses included and things to I don't know what it is, to the manager that they need to give, and somebody comes along and says, well, we'll take Nico off your hands for 25. Basically, you're switching Jonathan David with Nico Gonzalez.
So it seems like,
but again, Frederick, that's saying if dinosaurs roam the world, we can all think of hypotheticals.
We can't go into these scenarios. It's just based on.
He's not worth 30 million. He's not worth 30 million. Conceição's not worth 30 million.
We're moving on to one we can all agree with.
It seems like Nico is a polarizing figure.
Yeah, no, that's exciting to see. Milik gone,
but he's who?
The milk
man. Backup.
You know what the stupid thing is Milik, I actually think, was a decent Mota striker if the man could have been healthy, and it's just wasted a year. It just is a little annoying.
Nobody's gonna buy him, so you have no choice but to keep him, I think, or to how do you say
Again, you're bringing market dynamics in just based on.
No. I mean, he's a valid striker if he's fit, but not even God knows if he's ever going to be fit again.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, he's not contributing anything. He's dead weight on the roster. So Milik, sell. I don't think it's going to happen. I would find a way to keep Kolomwani. I really enjoyed his presence on the pitch. I really would. I really did.
Cool. Agreed.
Weah, he had such a bright start to the season and totally fell off. I like almost don't have an opinion.
I couldn't care less.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing. Like,
he's not there, man.
I haven't seen the growth that I wanted to, and obviously being from the US, I wanted to see him thrive here. He had some really good moments at the start of the season and fell off. If there was a market for him and we can make a profit and it's going to help the team invest in other areas, I wouldn't push back.
Earlier on the year, look, by the way, we finished the season in all competition as tied for third on our team in goal contribution. I think earlier in the year, he showed his value getting forward, almost like a poacher, getting in good spots and scoring goals. He then was asked to play right back, a position that we didn't have all season. Savona just stepped in. I thought he did better than okay. His positioning and his passing was excellent. He consistently finished games passing akin to our midfielders, showing his involvement up and down the entire pitch. And defensively, he wasn't a slouch. I think he was asked to do several things this year and actually didn't do anything bad in what he did. He just, for some reason, and we don't know the behind the scenes stuff, but for some reason was less favored than other players down the stretch under Tudor. And I think if he committed to it, would be a fantastic right back option. And from a McKennie standpoint, really good utility player. I would keep him.
Well, I wouldn't poke holes in that. And then the last but not least, our buddy Sammy Mbangula. I would loan, but I imagine we're going to sell him. Is my gut.
Yeah.
But
is that pure profit?
It would be.
Yeah.
He paid, I think, 120,000 euros to Brugge at the time.
That's Pogba money.
So
yeah.
I would loan him, but
I would loan him too. He's the type of person like Savona with the game time that they got this year, especially as an attacking player. And Mangula would be able to slot in probably to a promotion or a lower table team.
Pisa.
and I think we saw what an effective loan can do. I mean, Moretti's done well this year. Before we sold Fagioli, the Cremonese loan, I think giving people confidence to then come back and be able to step into that team is important. I think those types of guys are great candidates for it.
At what offer would you guys decide to sell him? At what amount? I mean, realistically.
I mean, he wouldn't command much, but like I wouldn't want to part with him for any less than 15 or 20. I know the market for that isn't that high. I can't imagine it's that high.
How much time is left on his contract?
3 years, I think.
Okay, so 25 and a buy clause, because you got to pry him from me if we have him under contract and we could loan him out or something. 25 and a sell on.
So I'm looking him up. He's worth 14 million euros right now. He is 21 years old, left winger. 14 mil.
Would you guys like a buyback clause?
Oh yeah.
If we sell him for 25, what would the buyback clause be though? Like 45, and we'd only be able to do it if we sold it to a mid-table team, and the only mid-table team buying him for 25 and a sell-on's probably in the Premier League.
No, I'm just going to spoil it. Dortmund want him, and before Giuntoli left, because he is gone, I can tell you that Mario. So I'm not going to have to apologize for that because Giuntoli is in all effects gone. They wanted to buy him for 27 and a half. I forgot. And Juventus demanded a buyback clause of 22. So
wait.
I guess depreciation, like after a year or two.
So how many years? When would it be live?
They could only activate it through the last year of his contract with Dortmund, and he would set to sign a 3-year deal. So he'd be 24, I think, by that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Juve could activate a buyback.
It'll be profitable to them because of the amortization of the contract in that last year.
Yeah, they were working on it, but that's also been paused due to our chef leaving the kitchen.
That'd be something I'd be interested in.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but that's he has some other offers as well. So
that's the squad.
How many points out of 10 would you give our season as a whole? I mean, not just the objectives or the players or management, the turmoil, but just an objective view. Yeah, just out of 10, how would you rate it? I mean, we because we have to be honest, we did get the objectives, because the objectives from Alcon were to lower our balance sheet in terms of expenses and to qualify for Champions League, which is not a Juve objective as such. On the other hand,
it was this year.
So maybe if you're bringing in finances, then maybe that gets my score a point higher, and I maybe a 5. But if I look at from a sporting project specifically, I'd give it a 4, and I think that's only propped up by the fact that we did qualify for the Champions League. I think what we talked about is a failed project that failed to progress the team forward, performing meaningfully better than last year, did not happen. We brought in the sporting director who was supposed to revolutionize this squad, who is no longer with us. We brought in the coach that was supposed to be the next Sir Alex Ferguson for us, who's no longer with the squad. We went out in the Champions League in an embarrassing manner. And then when we had the chance to learn from that in our next knockout game, we embarrassed ourselves against one of the worst Serie A sides but albeit in the Coppa Italia, to ever step foot in the Allianz Stadium, and we crash out on penalties when that was our chance to go forward and win a trophy. I was supposed to be on a plane going to Rome to watch that. That is something I wanted to do this year. That match against Empoli was so embarrassing. I can't see it being anything more than a 4. If we had not qualified for the Champions League, it would have been a 1 or a 2.
I was going to give it a 3 because of everything you listed, Kevin. Like, yes, we got top 4. That keeps at least the money flowing such that we can hopefully build again. But because we are where we were after Allegri version 1 left and have not progressed or grown in any way, shape, or form then, having restarted several times, I just have to wait to get excited for something again. And because everyone who was a part of what was supposed to be the revitalization of Juventus, or the beginning of that, is gone, shows you that we're back where we started years ago. So I give it 3-ish.
I think that's reasonable. Farha, what about you, man?
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, it was pretty terrible, but it was not. I mean, it was pretty terrible, but
fuck off, Farha. Just fuck off. Come on.
Honestly, if you want to put, from 0 to 10, he's telling me to fuck off. I'm afraid to give a number now. Well, I'm being bullied on my own podcast here. No,
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Damn it, that's a tough question. I mean, 5.5. I don't think it was a 3 or a 4. I mean, we went unbeaten for how long? There was some kind of a hope until January, to the point where we actually convinced Freddie to believe that we can win the Scudetto, and then
a whole 20 minutes.
The next game was a 4-0 loss against Atalanta. But I mean, up until that point, we kind of had hope. It wasn't a disaster until those 2 heavy defeats against Atalanta and Fiorentina. At the end, we did meet the objective. I don't know, 5.5, 6.
You're
mean,
generous,
10, man. 10 being what?
You're
10.
So cute.
Are you winning? Hold on. Are
Cute.
you winning? Are you winning the treble if you do 10 points, or is it like a Serie A is a 10-point season?
Dennis, the maximum, winning all the competitions you're enrolled in, I think, if you give a season a 10 out of 10.
All right.
To be honest.
All right, that takes it down a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we'll give it a 5. It was a season to forget, It was a nothing. It was a wash.
I'll give it a 1.
Oh, nice.
I'm being generous.
I mean, Frederick on his first podcast with us called himself Negative Nancy. I'll never forget. And Mr. Negative Nancy strikes again. 1 point from him, but it's an opinion-based podcast. So
I mean, I'll say rating it low doesn't mean there weren't things to enjoy. We talked about some great goals. We talked about some great games. You talk about even some of the worst moments you can find humor in, like Dušan's slip assist for the 4th goal in the Atalanta game, where he just gave it to Lookman, which might be emblematic of his entire time at Juventus. I mean, I think you can look back at the season and reflect and say it was in my case a 3 because of the failed project, but that doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the players at meeting their objective in the last game, the relief of the burden that we've commented on they were carrying for much of the year, of being able to shed that. I think I don't want to necessarily diminish all of those good moments, because as a football fan, you want to be invested in passion, and you want to be invested in players. And when you see like the rise of Yildiz and the like, I think it still gets me really excited about where this team could go. So 3 on the year doesn't mean it was all bad.
No, for me neither. I mean, a 1 sounds harsh, but it's a 1 because of the fact that we need to start from scratch all over again.
Yeah.
And that irritates the shit out of me because it's another, plunge in the ocean and another gamble, so to speak. I mean, let's just hope that Mr. John Alcon gets rational and starts putting things in a matter as which he should, so we can, climb the ladder every year.
Is it sorry, Freddie, is it fair for you to say that we have to start from scratch? Because we mentioned players that going into next season, we are looking forward to seeing them. Like Turin, that's already one player, kind of that stepped up, and we are looking forward to seeing him the next season. It's not like the team is completely they were under bad management and bad coaching, but there's some players that will take us, even higher next year. So
but when you have to rebuild the management board, when you have to get a new sporting director and you have to find a new coach, which is putting together the foundation from which we build upon.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, there's going to be players on the squad that we can build from, but in terms of those chess pieces on the board, they're wiped off.
And I think I've said this a couple of times, and I'm going to stick by it. Is if we had gone into this season, with a striker that actually could play the game, and look, every team can do this. If right, if we had a competent striker, which we all knew we needed, and Dusan wasn't it, and Bremer had stayed healthy, we're having a much different conversation, right? Sometimes you're just dealt the hand you're dealt, and this year with the injuries and with the locker room from Mota and all that stuff, it sucked. Okay, but Farhad, to go to your point, is I stand by that this team, and I think Tudor even said in one of his more recent interviews, this team's probably only a couple players away from legitimately, competing for the Scudetto and going further in Europe. You get one or two players in, and you get a manager who can get the best out of his players, not just some of his players, but make them greater than the sum of their parts. Guys like Douglas Luiz and Koopmeiners, who we know are quality, right? And you mix them in with one or two other players. We have the answer there, but it's really hard to go in and execute and do it, and finding the right person to do it. We saw that with Mota. We saw even after Tudor came in, the same type of issues. So it's all about that management, finding the person who's going to make them the sum of their parts, which is, much easier said than done. And something that Freddie and Frederic and I are going to be talking a lot about in the Scoop, our new sort of spinoff, if you want to call it that, starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and another spoiler for tomorrow is, and that's also keeping into account what Farhad just said, Alcon is going scorched earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that in the most broadest sense.
And now, Freddie Scoops with the Scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
I don't know, Farhad. I mean, are us assessing kind of the season on 1 to 10, maybe that is a good place to wrap. I mean, I know we thought we might dive into some other topics, whether that's Vlahovic, Thiago Malta, but I think we hit on those throughout the season.
I mean, we'll have more podcasts. We'll be talking about we'll be talking about Juve's Club World Cup appearances. I'll be in Orlando. Please DM me on Instagram at Turin Giants if you want to meet up or something. But there's going to be so much speculation where you're going to get tired of us over the summer. So yeah, I think it's a great way to end it, boys.
On the flip side, I would say you're not going to get tired of us. You are going to be able to use us as your source of information to wade through and cut through the noise of a busy, usually rumor and lie-filled summer market.
Yeah.
Congrats again on 300, though. Congrats.
Oh, no. You guys.
Awesome, Farhad. This is just 300 part 1, Kevin.
That's right.
Part 2 is going to be recorded later today, right, Farhad?
Yes, thank you for saying that. It's weird because if you're listening to this, you will literally hear the next part next with Matt and Saeed. Please don't. If you see an hour left on your podcast, and we're saying goodbye, so don't get confused. I thought, 13 years doing this podcast, I wanted to bring back the original hosts. my boys. I mean, we stayed friends for forever. We knew each other from the fan club that I ran in LA, Juventus fan club, and we've remained friends. You guys will have fun. Matt, Christian, and Saeed are good buds. So you guys will have, and bonus if you've been listening to us from the very beginning. I know there's a lot of people who remain fans, and what we're getting as far as comments, and then we'll wrap up. That means a lot to me is people saying, you guys have been on even when the seasons have been crap. So for the last 3 or 4 years, we keep going strong, even talking about losses and going through the tough times with the club. And we have no intention of stopping. So I appreciate all of you, listeners and my co-hosts. Somebody give last remarks as I prepare the outro. Should I do an outro? I don't think we should do. I did prepare a pretty cool outro, but yeah.
To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued for listeners in a couple seconds.
Yeah. Thank you, boys. I appreciate you.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.